That. You know I hate that. All right, we're going to get going. Looks like it's filling up pretty good. Are announcements being made in the hallways about coming into things? I don't know. Someone tell me. Have you been in the hallway and gotten an announcement? Oh, good. That's probably why you're here. Lovely. All right. I'm John Ciovacco. I am the president of Aztech Geothermal and a board member with NY-GEO, and bear a striking resemblance to a cardboard cutout that's nearby registration. That's just a coincidence. I don't know where that came from. So I've got a couple of housekeeping items I want to go through. I'm always supposed to say things like there's bathrooms over there and exits, but I'm hoping people can sort that out at your age. I wanted to thank the Driller magazine for putting together a nice piece for us, and inside this magazine has information about the exhibitors and where they are, and also has information about the sessions. So there's a grid in there about the sessions. Looks something like that. So, and as you may have sorted out, there's 3 tracks, and the tracks start with this center one here, which is track, I don't need the glasses. Yes, I do. Track D. So ABC is over here. D is here. So ABC is because they can split that into 3 things. Don't be confused. That's one room is ABC. This is D, that's E. And the way it works is that this track over here, today only, is for PDH credits. So that means that if you're an engineer and you want to get professional development credits, that's the room you want to ride, and you can get up to 5 if you stay for all the sessions. The other ones are not PDH, but certain types of professional associations will allow you to just report. And so it might work for some other things as well. We've got design and commissioning over here, we've got thermal energy networks here, and we've got projects and equipment here. And then we've got 3 different tracks tomorrow: thermal exchange, business models, and then building the ground source heat pump industry, which really was like miscellaneous, but miscellaneous didn't sound that good, so we put building the ground source heat pump industry instead. So that's how we roll with that. Couple of maybe highlights around this is that we have Don Penn here for the first time. Don Penn is a guy that has been involved in the ground source heat pump industry, I don't know, how many years? Give it a number. 100 something? 30 plus. That's more reasonable. Yeah, I think that's probably more reasonable. I didn't hear that. I should get this earbud out of here. That's the problem. So I think that's great. Also, Mimi Egg is here. Jay Egg has a daughter, and that daughter is now doing Geothermal 101. So that's kind of we're moving along in the generations. We're starting to cycle back through, so that's going to be really fun. Top job presentations is also in that track a little bit later. We have the thermal energy network track. I think has an interesting one. Lots of folks are pro thermal energy network. If you don't know what that is, then maybe go to the track. But we'll also have one on when is it appropriate to do a thermal energy network versus when is it maybe more appropriate to do an individual building geothermal system. And I think that's kind of a debate. We're hoping to keep it sort of positive and that we don't sort of polarize, but could be a little spicy. That one might be worth going to. A few other things. Conference staff. There really aren't too many conference staff. It's really like Christine. Christine with Aowen and I helping. John Rath has been doing a great job getting the PDH stuff together. And it was great to have Sally and Donna help us out with registration too. So they jumped in at the last minute here. And Chelsea and Brock have been great with the Driller magazine. We've got room proctors. Over here, we've got John Rath, and he's going to take care of that. Chris Winkler and Aowen are going to be in the center track here, and Matt Arison is going to be taking care of folks over there. So there's There's always a room proctor in there, so if you have any trouble with things, just let that person in the room know. Let me see what I have here. Pop through. So we have a Wi-Fi network. You can, I don't know, take a picture of that or just remember if you're young enough. But it's basically the network is NY-GEO, no dash, and then NY-GEO 2026 for the password. And that will hook you up on internet. We have Rachel Collet, again, taking photographs. And so what we did in Saratoga for the first time is that those are then being transmitted to someone that's editing them and posting them kind of as quickly as they can. So some of the tour ones will start popping up today from yesterday, and then we'll jump in. And hopefully by even the end of today, we'll start seeing some of the photographs that come through. But that's kind of nice. That way people can use them for social media. So that QR code should take you to the gallery that she's putting up. And you can grab some photos there. And then also the driller is having a videographer who I think is maybe there. Yeah, there he is. And so we're going to have Harrison is also going to be videoing some things. And so those folks are out taking pictures. They're supposed to be here. I don't think it's going to end up in a negative space, but if you have issues with pictures, stay away from them. That's my advice on that. But if you're speaking, you're probably going to get your picture taken, like it or not. I want to talk a little bit about our sponsors, and Con Ed being the presenting sponsor, and that's terrific. Last time we were in Brooklyn, which was October of 2024, Con Ed also was a presenting sponsor. Tremendous amount of support, financial support, and also support in helping organize the conference. And we're going to hear more from Con Ed folks, especially tomorrow morning. We've got a couple of speakers from Con Ed, and then sprinkled in a little bit through the program today as well. NYSERDA coming in as the gold sponsor. NYSERDA has been with us really from the beginning, and we're going to hear from Suzanne a little bit later on today. So that'll be nice in this morning program. Thanks for your support. Climate Master has come in. Sometimes it's Climate Control Group, but it looks like we're shifting back to Climate Master, which I'm more comfortable with as an older person, honestly. And coming in as silver sponsor, thanks so much for that. Water Furnace, I don't know if I can get used to the logo, but it's pretty slick, you know. They're refreshing, I guess, a little bit. They're up for the dinner, and we're going to hear from John Thomas and his crew, and they're also sponsoring, which you'll see later, Top Job. Rototech is doing the mixer before, so as you're libating yourself, is that even a word? Rototech is responsible for that. Glad to have them there. The Geostar, which is a water furnace brand, is doing the Top Job Award. Thanks so much for that. And then we have the Golden Tricone. So we have a Driller Award that we're also putting up, and that'll be fun. We'll hear from Brock at dinner on that. Bronze for Train. Thanks for coming in, Train. A newcomer to the sponsorship for us, and great. They've been kind of hanging around in the background, and now they're coming to the forefront, so that's good to see. SRS and who also reps Unilux as a product, they came in as the lunch sponsor, and we want to thank them for that. Breakfast Enertech and Turner Engineering, so your breakfast earlier today and tomorrow, you can thank those folks for that. Coffee breaks, we got Webb, Bosch, and we've got the International Construction Equipment. Is that all it is? International Construction Equipment, like fellowship, or what is it? ICE seems like not a great thing to say right now, yeah. I'm trying to keep this non-controversial. We're going to move on. Versa Profiles. So this is like, these are people who are sponsoring things where there's no refreshments at all, and they're giving us money anyway. So Versa Profiles, Web jumps back in, and Darcy Solutions. Great to have them here. The Driller, which we've talked about, helping us with the media stuff. And then we've got a whole host of exhibitors that we hope that you spend some time with. So I want to get Donovan Gordon up here, and we'll get sort of rolling on stuff. Do we have a Donovan Gordon? I mean, we know who he is. Is anyone named Donovan Gordon in the house? Donovan, I met Donovan as we were sort of walking the halls when he was a NY-GEO member, came from NY-GEO, from the Long Island GEO, and then came up and helped us out with some legislative stuff. Ended up getting a nice job with NYSERDA that he really championed. Heat pumps and geothermal heat pumps was a real supporter of ours. He had about 6 or 7 different titles. All of them have the word thermal in them, I think, as a commonality as he moved his way through the organization. And I have to say, he's a board member now, which is so great to have him still a part of what we're doing. And he's a good friend of mine. And so let's get Donovan up here, and he can set the stage for us.
Thank you, John. And I will admit you're my friend too. But I do have to admit that when you first said, Donovan, we want you to set the stage, I said to myself, I know I've been volunteering for a lot of stuff for the last few months, but can't you get somebody to pay to do this? Set the stage? Anyway, before I get into my presentation, I do want to thank the geothermal industry as a whole for the genuine, really genuine love that you've extended to me over the last 6 months since my retirement. I feel it, and I love you back, and hopefully you see that and feel that as well. Also, I want to thank NYSERDA for 10 wonderful years. I learned a lot, gained a lot out of it, and certainly feel I contributed some, and I do miss you guys. It's only been 6 months, but I miss you. I haven't seen Sue Doherty. Oh, there you are. I miss you, Sue. And I already saw Andrew, so I miss you guys a lot. So, you know who I am. I'm going to talk about the benefits of geothermal heat pumps to the grid. But I'll say that we have a really strong lineup, and we're very fortunate to have this lineup of keynote speakers for this conference, starting with Rory Christian, Chair of Public Service Commission, coming up in a few minutes. Then Rich Dewey, President of New York Independent Systems Operator, NY-GEO, this evening. And then Vicki Kuo, Senior Vice President of Con Ed, tomorrow morning. Why that's important? We really want to hear what they have to say to us as an industry and how we can help them. But also, too, last summer, NY-GEO put out a report on grid reliability for Con Ed in Zone J, New York City. In December, the Public Service Commission put out an order to Con Edison to come up with non-emitting solutions for good reliability, reducing peak demand during the summer, I guess from May to September. In January, Con Edison put out an RFI for non-emitting solutions for good reliability and reducing peak. And in March, NY-GEO responded to that RFI. So we look forward to hearing from Con Edison and getting the feedback from what we put together. So we want to hear from you, but now I'd like you to hear from us as to how we can help the grid. It's with geothermal heat pumps. Now, you've all seen this, and it can go from fully distributed residential to large buildings. And I know Con Ed's got a little experience with the Riviera on Java. You've seen it. You've seen the impact that it has on peak, and it hasn't increased winter peak, so that's a good thing. Thank you, Zach, for that. And you can do it district, campus, community. That's all good. But here's what it can do for the grid. Because of the high efficiency of these heat pumps, geothermal heat pumps can reduce base load and peak demand up to 40%. And up to 60% when thermal energy storage is included. Now, the board didn't have me come up and say this to say it. We have the data to back that up. This is true. But what I'm going to do is sort of leave this here for a couple seconds. I actually want you to sort of look at it. Take a deep breath, let it marinate and sink in a little bit. And then I am going to count to 10 in my head. Then I'm going to ask you to ask yourself a question. What other technology today that is commercially available, that has the expertise to deliver it and deploy it, that you can think of that can make this statement? I'm going to start counting to 10 now. Actually, it was 11. And if there was another one, then I say there's 2, all right? But we can make that statement. So now, why is this important? And why should the grid care about this? That's the grid, all right? So all that infrastructure for the demand. Demand increases, everything else has to increase. We just said we can shrink it. Well, what impact will that have down the line on the grid? Because we know that the grid is designed for peak demand. Peak demand drives infrastructure costs. Coincident peaks require peaker plants. We're in an urban setting, Zone J. Guys, where are you going to expand? Not much room to expand. Let's contract. Building electrification will contribute to winter peaks, but here's the thing. Just like with cooling, it's the most efficient heating equipment as well, too, so it will be the most efficient. But I actually want to go back to my previous slide when I showed the geothermal with the loops. We'll talk about geothermal heat pumps, heating and cooling. But I really want to start looking at geothermal in addition to that as infrastructure. That is what it is. The pipes, 50-year manufacturer's warranty, 100 years useful life. And when I say it reduces base load and peak by 40%, that's in perpetuity. That's not like a couple years. You put that infrastructure in, the next 100 years you've got that. Keep it, oh, wow, 2 minutes, I better get going. All right, flattening loads, I'm already halfway through. It lowers costs, right, because you're gonna flatten load, and obviously it's non-emitting. There's a stack, all right? So geothermal is the foundation, it's the infrastructure. Thermal energy networks, if you want to share load, larger loads, if it's large load, diverse load, you can share loads. Not everybody's on board, but hey, just put heat pumps in there if it's not optimal for you. Thermal energy storage. I can't resist that, so you may have to give me an extra minute, John. But, you know, I always like using peanut butter.
You can buy a minute.
Okay, thanks, Suzanne. I'm using the peanut butter and jelly analogy, I'm sorry. Geothermal is the peanut butter. Thermal energy networks is the jelly. You can have a peanut butter sandwich alone. You can have a jelly sandwich alone. But peanut butter and jelly together, yummy. So smart controls for dispatchable in controlling it. And adding solar PV and battery energy storage sort of rounds it all off. And I stopped at up to 60%, but when you add battery storage and solar PV, that takes it down even further, potentially don't hold me that one, up to 70%. That's a phenomenal number. Just to give you some illustrations, because John didn't want too many words, so I said, okay, I'll give you 1,000 words in a picture. So we all know what a thermal energy network kind of looks like, but I bring this up, shout out to BDC if they're here. The subway, thermal energy there. Stormwater and sewer exchange, there. River, surface water, we have that here. Large buildings that can share loads, we have that here. So all these things are accessible to us right here in Zone J. Thermal energy storage, all different types. You can do ice storage. Just so for those who don't know, Rockefeller Center, the entire campus is cooled with ice. It's ice storage, and there are several other large buildings in the city that use ice storage. You have a bigger campus, you could use tank storage on the upper right. You have a city or a large community, you can do pit storage. So there's all kinds of thermal energy storage that you can use for any load or capacity that you have. I think I will come in on time. So my next slide is a little dangerous, because this is when you have a baby boomer me, because I am retired, kind of, I think, learning and having fun with AI. Right? So I sort of put an AI version of what's in my brain to bring out, and this is what he came up with. This is ideal. And we got the city in the background, so I even got that right too. You've got your thermal on the side. Please look at leveraging wastewater. That is a wonderful opportunity there. You have your geothermal loops as the foundation, your infrastructure. You have your heat recovery, whether it's from building exhaust, data centers, or commercial buildings. You have your storage tanks. It could be ice, it could be pit, whatever, but we have the tanks here. You have your water source. And then on the electric side, you have your battery and your solar and your smart controls and bi-directional electric generation. So hopefully this sets the stage in a way that I'd like to, rather than setting up chairs and tables. But thank you very much for the time, and I'm actually giving a couple seconds back. But I will say, for those who are here for the first time, 'cause I've seen at least 5 or 6 people that are at this conference for the first time. If you're here for the first time, please raise your hand. Oh my gosh, wow. This is fantastic. Welcome. This is a Geo Love Fest. You're gonna learn a lot. Old friends connect, meet some new friends, but enjoy the next 2 days. You're gonna get a lot out of this geothermal experience. Thank you very much.
Well done. Thanks, Donovan. Always fun. So I'm going to bring Christine up. She's the executive director of NY-GEO, for those of you that don't know that, but maybe you've been under a rock or something. Her first conference was this one here back in October of 2024. Yes? You were in Albany that first time. I remember you. Anyway, I would also consider her a friend. And her husband happens to work with me too, so that's how I know her. But it turns out that she had a great background in organizing organizations and being an executive director, and has really brought up the sort of level of professionalism. We've gone from being sort of very grassroots to being much more legitimate, and Christine's been a real big part of that. And I'd like to have her come up and just give a little review about what's been happening with NY-GEO over the last year or so. So come on up, Christine.
That was John's gentle way of saying, Christine, you just lost 5 minutes. I am Christine, in case you didn't get that. And John, you're also a good friend, so I appreciate that. NY-GEO, New York Geothermal Energy Organization, we are the trade association for our industry. Our job is to work hard within the state to advance ground source heat pumps and all the technologies that come along with that. So we oftentimes have members that say, well, what do I get for that? So hopefully through the course of my conversation this morning, it's not just a discount on the conference here. It's about advancing our technology and providing the opportunities for you to do what you want to do and what we all need, and that is to decarbonize and electrify New York State. So we work a bit on advocacy, and I'll talk about that in just a minute as well. We help form legislation that will help advance what it is that we're trying to do and educate our decision makers in Albany. And this last year and into this year, working very hard on workforce development so that when it's time, which is now, we can scale the industry with workers that can help us install these systems. So John gave me a little bit too much credit that I do a lot, which I do, but you can't do what I do without a board. So we increased the board this year, which is great. I'm not going to say everybody's names because they should be well known, but if you would please just stand so that we can give you a round of applause for everything that you do to help make this organization what it is. So the reality for a trade association or a not-for-profit, if you don't have a working board that understands the need of the organization to move it forward, you're not going to have success. So truly, this organization's success is because of our board. So thank you very much. Then we have John, JR. Where's JR? There is he, all the way in the back. So JR is our Director of Operations. He runs our Let's Talk program every other Friday. It's just an opportunity for members to get together, talk about what's going on in the industry. We try and sometimes have a theme to it. But he also does some of the heavy lifting that is crazy. So we sit in on a lot of rate cases and support our other organizations that are doing things in our space. Supports that with the Renewable Heat Now group. It's a group of people. So JR, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for everything that you do. So under the tutelage of Bill Nowak, who used to be me, and did a great job, probably better than me, is that he put together this great legislation and policy group, and they're working really, really, really hard to, again, educate Albany about all the things that we need to advance our technology and how we can do that. So we have three things on our legislative agenda this year. So mapping of leak-prone pipes. There is a memo that we want you all to sign that's on our website. You get a lot of emails from me while you're here. You're going to get an email with a link to that. We ask that you sign that letter with your company name and yourself. If you have 10 people from the same company, the more signatures, the better to help us get this initiative move forward. The GRECs, the Geothermal Renewable Energy Credits, same thing. There's a session on that tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And initiating a bonding authority for thermal energy network. So those are our three initiatives that we're working on very hard. You're going to be asked a lot to sign on to things, and we want you to do that. Because as a membership organization, it's not just my voice, it needs to be all your voices. So when they hear from 1,000 people in the industry versus just one, NY-GEO, it does have an impact. So when we ask you to sign something, read it, and if you agree with it, please sign it. So some of the work that we have done, again, the policy legislative group was able to get the New York State incentive increased from $5,000 to $10,000, and as of January 1st, it is refundable. Last 2024, we were able to get drilling increased to go below 500 feet, and that's really important. So some of the things that Donovan showed, that would not happen if it were not for this organization and the championship that we did to get that bill passed. Got to change a little bit. So workforce development, we have submitted 3 separate grants and programs to help us support and train more people in what it is that we're doing. So we did, I can't say the name because they don't want us to, but we did get a small grant to help us write the next step, which we're doing now. So Harrison is here somewhere. So in addition to videotaping this, we're going to come to you and we're going to ask you questions about what it is that you see our needs are to advance ground source heat pumps and thermal energy in New York State. And we need those answers because those answers are going to be part of a video that we submit to this group for the next level of funding. And it's also great for us to have those as testimonials when we go out and we ask for people for these grants and these initiatives. So opportunity. This is the opportunity now for us to revolutionize heating and cooling buildings in New York State and really the world. The opportunity is now to showcase the buildings and the retrofit industry that we do not need to depend on fossil fuels to heat and cool buildings in New York State and the world. The opportunity is now, together we can share the reasons why geothermal is the ideal choice for heating and cooling, which Donovan already told us about and we all know. And the opportunity is now to collaborate and present a united front on the messaging to advance our technology. The opportunity is now to reduce peak demand, which Donovan talked about, Jens will talk about. And with that is unity. So in order to do what we're doing, we need to get on the same page, we need to talk the same talk, and we need to walk the same walk. We need to be unity within our industry to help each other achieve our goals, sell more ground source heat pumps, put more of this technology into buildings. That's what we need to do. We need to come together and be a unified front when we move forward. We can be competitors, like our friends in the NFL. You took it out. I can't say it. So I came up with this idea because I like the Bills. I was watching Josh Allen, he had that hat on. I'm like, this is it, an opportunity. So if these football players can go out and beat each other up on the field, but then come together in a unified fashion to advance their own missions and their own not-for-profits, we can as well. So I think I stayed on time.
You're doing good.
I'm doing great. So with that, go Bills. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Suzanne. So Suzanne DeRoche is NYSERDA's Senior Vice President of Clean and Resilient Buildings, leading the authority's work on building modernization to expand New York's residents' access to healthier, more comfortable homes and workplaces. Suzanne leads NYSERDA's programs and initiatives to retrofit buildings at scale, provide support for clean technology innovation, development and implement energy codes and product standards, and accelerate approaches that move beyond single building solutions to effective deployment at the community level. I didn't have enough coffee this morning, I'm sorry. Prior to joining NYSERDA, she served as the Regulatory Director for Energy Policy at New York City's Mayor's Office. She is highly regarded in the clean energy and resilient space, bringing expertise and rich experience in areas including climate policy, energy regulation, city and state partnerships, and building decarbonization. Suzanne holds a Bachelor of Industrial Design from Pratt Institute and an MPA in Environmental Science Policy from Columbia University, and is a LEED accredited professional. She is on the faculty at Columbia University's Earth Institute of School and Professional Studies. It's my pleasure to introduce Suzanne.
Good morning, everybody. Great to see everybody here in my hometown, Brooklyn. There's two spellings of my name today, so you can choose one. You can decide, do you like the silent S or not like the silent S? It's your choice. So I'm super happy to really welcome you to this New York GEO conference. I want to thank Donovan, who I miss every day at NYSERDA, Christine and John, and all of you for being here in this kind of unusually chilly morning on my walk over this morning. I was going to talk a little bit about why geothermal is important. I think Donovan did a great job, and I gave him one of my minutes, so I'm going to skip that part. But really, what I wanted to talk about is why is New York GEO an important organization, right? So for me, it's four things, right? We have what we're doing today. We're getting together, we're sharing knowledge. As Christine said, we're doing it as a group, as a partnership, and we're all helping each other. It also provides great resources for everybody in the room, in the state, elsewhere, nationally. Really well-recognized organization that provides quality resources. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the community that you all are, right? It's a room full of many different parts of the industry. You've got drillers, you've got utilities, you've got manufacturers and installers, you've got policy folks, you've got advocates, you've got state agencies in the room, including Department of Public Service and NYSERDA, and there may be some NY-GEO folks in here. So this is a very disparate group, and it's really the job of New York GEO to bring everybody together so that we can move this industry forward. And the last thing, and you heard Christine talk a little bit about this, New York GEO does a great job of advocating for the industry. There's a recent tax credit increase. That work is hard, and anybody that is involved in moving a piece of legislation forward or a tax credit forward knows it's many hours. The sausage making is not an easy thing to do. So for me, New York GEO embodies all of those things, and they're all very critical elements of moving the industry forward. NYSERDA has played a role in this. We helped start and sponsor New York GEO. Donovan was really instrumental in that work. I'm just going to mention Donovan as many times as possible in my 4 minutes. But NYSERDA has issued over 100 awards across 2 different programs. You might have been familiar with the Community Heat Pump Program. We had the Large-Scale Thermal Network programs. We will be announcing future programs as we move into the next kind of tranche of ratepayer dollars and stand up those programs. But we've supported the industry through money for planning, for design, and also for construction, right? And NYSERDA will continue in that role going forward. I also need to mention UTENJA, show of hands. How many people know what that stands for? All right, got at least half the room. So in 2022, the state passed UTENJA, which has got to be one of the weirdest acronyms that we've thought of. The Utility Thermal Energy Network and Jobs Act. That is also really a catalyst for some of this work across the state, and I'm sure Chair Christian will talk a little bit about that. So there's been a lot going on. New-York-GEO plays a critical role, and there's a lot more to come. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Rory Christian, the chair of the Public Service Commission and CEO of the Department of Public Service. So Rory started his career at Keyspan, which is now, for those that are not as old as us or haven't lived in Brooklyn for over 30 years, was National Grid, is now National Grid. He worked at NY-GEO, he worked at the Environmental Defense Fund. He has a really wide breadth of knowledge in this area of really one of the founding leaders of the energy transition. He's been a champion for many decades. I have had the pleasure of working with Chair Christian along that period of time. We won't talk about how old we are, but we've been doing this together for some time. So, from all of us here today, I would like to thank you for your public service and also your leadership, and join me in welcoming Chair Christian.
Suzanne, I got to have you attend every event I speak at. I haven't been hyped up that well in a long time. Founding leader in the energy transition. Whew. All right, well, hopefully I can live up to that. So good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. It's good to see such a large crowd, and I feel like every time I speak at a New-York-GEO event, the crowd does in fact get bigger and bigger. So that's really encouraging and a sign the policies and regulations that we're putting forward are working. So again, Rory Christian is my name. I'm the chair and CEO of the Department of Public Service and the Public Service Commission, and yes, those are two distinct jobs. I want to thank John Ciovacco. I want to thank the board members. I want to thank Donovan and everybody here for coming again. I always feel at home at events like this, in part because whenever I'm in a room full of people who are interested and engaged in the functioning of our energy systems and making them better, I feel I'm in the right place. I feel like I'm in the place where I need to be. I spent my undergraduate years as a civil engineering student. And when I graduated, I was able to work at Keyspan Energy. And I quickly learned just how complicated our energy systems can be. I also learned how interesting they could be and how all-encompassing energy is in our day-to-day life. And after 2 decades of working across the energy industry, I've come to appreciate that solving the technical problem is often the easy part, which I'm sure many of you who are engineers know. The engineering solution is always something that can be developed. Other things are harder. Getting people to adopt the solution, getting the financing needed, getting people to want what we offer and understand the benefits. So today I'm not going to talk about the technical discussion. Donovan did a great job of that already, and I'm sure each of the tracks you're going to go to are going to give you much more detail and flavor than I can give you in the 20 minutes I have today. What I do want to talk about is the challenges we face and what we're doing about them. And because I'm the keynote, I can talk about whatever I want. Or so John has told me. Hopefully that is the case, right? Yeah. And so to illustrate the point, I'm going to focus on a few things today. First, I want to talk about perspective. I want to talk about how history shapes our view of what's actually possible for the future. Then I want to talk about how that perspective has changed over time and how that change makes what we're doing now so unique. Then I'm going to talk about music. I promise it'll make sense. And I'll close out with a discussion on the different things the Commission, NYSERDA, and our state partners are doing to help bring about the change that we're all here to see. So when you look at the history of energy, you can see very quickly that it's an ebb and flow, a dynamic that's influenced by a variety of factors, many of which none of us in this room have any control over. And when you step back and you look at that history in detail, what you don't see is revolutions. There's never an energy revolution. Everything from energy has been a transition, moving from one source to another, one mode of use to another, slowly over time. And you can see that at every step of the way. We've been burning wood as a species since time immemorial. And when wood became scarce due to deforestation in parts of Europe, you all know the story, we started looking for coal. Coal fed early industrialization, and ultimately the need for technology to get deeper and deeper coal seams helped us propel human society to where we are today. But I guarantee you, we're still burning wood. In fact, I'm betting money some of you have slept or stood or seated by a wood-burning fireplace at some point in the last few months. And right now, based on what you were just saying this morning, I definitely wanted to be one by one today. And as we moved from wood to coal, there were benefits. We were able to do more with the energy that coal provided. The need for oil was driven by the need to give naval ships an edge in World War II. After World War I, the British Admiralty recognized that coal wasn't the best way to fuel their ships. They weren't faster, they weren't as maneuverable, and they were slow to load all that bulky coal. Oil solved all those problems. And what we have now is a world built on that decision, a world that recognizes the benefits oil provided over coal. And we live through those benefits, but we also are currently seeing many of the negative consequences of that, both geopolitically and environmentally. And with natural gas, we also saw similar benefits with that transition. And I can keep going on and on and on, but what's interesting about each of these transitions, when you dig in, you find that they unfold gradually. They're not immediate, they take time. And they're driven by a combination of economics, markets, regulation, and technology, all of which evolving in tandem, supporting each other. One commonality is the fact that the replacement energy source almost always exceeded the capabilities of the incumbent. Whether it was cost or ease of use or the benefits it provided, ultimately, we valued the benefits that new source provides. Which brings me to my second point about how our perspectives have changed. In just the last 7 years, we have, as a society, as a planet, experienced a profound series of events that living in it are, you don't really think about it, I'm willing to bet money. 46 million acres were burned in Australia. Does anybody remember that? I rarely hear about that in the news these days, but that happened. Billions of animals dead or displaced. Not a couple million, billions. This was a wake-up call for many. But right after, we had the COVID pandemic. I mean, literally, right after. That's what took over the news story. The headlines tell us that that was what was going on for the next few years. We shut down many things, our lives changed inexorably, but ultimately the impact left us in a place where our world was forever changed. Add to that the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and more recently our own attempts of hegemony over Iran. We're living through wars that are having a direct, intangible impact on energy sectors, an impact that will linger long after the last missile or bullet is struck. And if you filled your gas tank in the last week, you see the immediate effects of these changes firsthand. Now, over the last year and a half, we've also seen an unprecedented level of policy uncertainty. Uncertainty that has fundamentally reshaped the energy landscape and the trajectory we had been working towards. Now, again, each of these things I've just listed on its own could be a plot point in a movie, could be newsworthy in and of itself, but collectively, this is a fundamental inflection point in our society. And I want to take a moment to point out that we are all living in it in the moment. So, you're probably wondering what this all has to do with music, right? Yeah, I thought so. So, look, I don't play an instrument. I mean, if you count the clarinet in 6th grade, it's been a long time. But I like music, and I go to a lot of concerts. And at one point in my life, I would go to a concert almost every other weekend. Particularly enjoyed anything that was happening at Lincoln Center, because one of the things I noticed at the beginning of every concert, you'd have each instrument doing its own thing. You'd have the violins strumming along, oboes, saxes, whatever instrument it was. It sounded like a cacophony of noise. Right up until the moment the conductor shows up, waves his wand, settles them down, and they begin. And it all comes together, flowing naturally. That's what we like about our energy systems. We like a dynamism that works into a balance. And that's through that balance that we're able to build the society upon which we live. Now, what makes an orchestra great is you're not hearing the same tune over and over and over again. You have one section rise, another fall. You have different melodies rise up and come about. And it's that coordination that is ultimately propelling the performance forward. And so I look at that as a good analogy for what we strive to achieve with our energy system. A balance that requires dynamism and flexibility. It's not just about having the right pieces. It's about how those pieces fit together and work together over time. And that's why I've come to think about energy more like an orchestra than anything else. Because to rely on any one thing, any one instrument, ultimately that doesn't work. So today, when we look at what we're doing here in New York State, the conversation is often about our transitioning how we generate electricity. But less discussed, but also important, is the fact that we are transitioning how we use that energy. We're moving away from the combustion of fossil fuels towards the use of electricity. We are decarbonizing, we are electrifying. And we are rethinking the design of our energy systems to ensure that they maintain the reliability, affordability, and sustainability over the long term, all with the goal of achieving and maintaining that long-sought harmony. So now, we at the Department of Public Service and the Public Service Commission, we are the regulators of the energy system in New York. And in many ways, one could view us as the orchestra, but we're just one of many conductors of the orchestra. Energy is something most people only notice when it's absent or when it becomes too expensive. And as I was saying earlier, I really, really wish people didn't notice energy. Make our job a lot easier. There'd be a lot less talk about it in the news. And energy, ultimately, is critical because if it's unaffordable, it does not help the economy move forward. So what we need to do is ensure that every action we take, every step we move forward in determining how this energy transition shapes out, moves forward with affordability in mind. And I can say I'm very encouraged, having walked through this room earlier, seeing the various exhibitors, seeing new technologies, new approaches, all with the aim of making geothermal more competitive, more affordable, more efficient, and ultimately easier to adopt and integrate into our society. Now, I'm encouraged by the fact that all of you in this room today has spent years improving those technologies, be they new drilling techniques, new fluids, thermal fluids, all with the goal of demonstrating that geothermal systems can deliver real benefits to the communities that integrate them. And these efforts matter because, again, every major shift in every energy system begins with exactly the kind of work that you are all engaged in and doing today. But now comes our somewhat harder part. We've got to demonstrate that this resource fits into the broader balance. And I suspect when I read NY-GEO's comments in the Con Ed reliability docket, I might see how you guys view geothermal fitting into this larger environment. And we want to see that growth over time because, again, we need as many instruments in our orchestra as possible. To be clear, this is not a failure of technology where we are today. This is a need for greater alignment, for ensuring that all parts of the orchestra can work in harmony. And knowing that change takes time, the Commission has prepared to establish a foundation from which New York can benefit from these changes to come. At the household level, we've sought to move markets. We're providing financing, incentives, and clear development pathways to the maximum extent possible. And we've supported the continuation of incentives for ground source heat pumps for both new construction and retrofits throughout the state. You all know that Con Ed has implemented heat pump rates, both for ground and air source systems. And these have resulted in meaningful savings for households who have made the switch. And through our Grid of the Future proceeding and our related work, department staff are actively thinking about how to extend similar rate design opportunities to the rest of the state. We know that National Grid and NYSERDA are funding a study evaluating geocolumn technology, an alternative to conventional borehole drilling that is significantly shallower with the potential to sustainably reduce the upfront costs that have historically extended payback periods, slowing adoption. Now, this is exactly the kind of technology we're hoping to see deploy at scale. And on the utility scale, we're actively exploring how to de-risk the projects that can bring benefits to entire neighborhoods and communities, not just to individual households. And as you've heard earlier, the Utility Thermal Energy Network and Jobs Act, UTENJA, my favorite acronym ever, we are working through, oh boy, sorry, I don't come up with these names, by the way. I just have to say them every time I have an event. Through the UTENJA Act, we are working through the Utility Thermal Energy Network proceeding with the intent of basically, among other goals, lowering energy costs. The mandate established by the law helps drive that work. Now, these pilot programs and other projects currently pending before the Commission are things I can't talk about in detail. So you'll have to forgive me, and I'm sure others will have comments throughout the day. But I'm excited by what I've seen thus far, and I anticipate great changes in the future as these projects come forward. Now, I want to provide a few final high-level thoughts on the department's work before I come to a close. We have some very ambitious timelines enacted by statute, timelines that, frankly, did not account for the various life-changing events that we've all been living through for the past few years. However, we move forward with certainty that our goal is to achieve them to the best of our ability. So the Commission must weigh what we must do with the impacts of how we must do it, and take actions that appropriately protect ratepayers with both of those in mind. We take this responsibility seriously, and at the moment, with heightened sensitivity to increases in customer bills, cost impact considerations cannot be overstated. We are not in the business of advancing projects that shift costs onto those who can least afford it. We must find ways to do the opposite. The Clean Heat Program, for example, run through our utilities and administered in partnership with NYSERDA, continues to support individual households adopting geothermal and other clean heating technologies. And NYSERDA's community thermal efforts are helping to demonstrate what neighborhood-scale solutions can look like. Now, for the time being, federal incentives remain available. You guys can work on that, right? Okay, good. And while they are meaningful, they are not yet sufficient. They are not yet sufficiently rich to fully close the cost gap at scale. That is the reality we must be honest about as we weigh complementary state-level tools. But here's what I want you to carry out of this room today. The future of geothermal will not be determined by a single breakthrough or a single decision. Like every energy transition before us, it will take incremental progress over time. Much of that I've seen and I see every day. And it's going to require progress from people who refuse to accept the status quo. You guys, everybody in this room. So let's tune up and let's get to work and let's bring that progress about. And I'm encouraged by so many of you here, a number that seems to increase every year. I don't know where you're going to do this in the future. This keeps growing. But I'm looking forward to seeing the energy you bring and the results that we can all achieve together. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Chair Christian. That was great. Lots of geothermal talk. We love that at the geothermal conference. All right, good luck. Something else is about to happen.
just do your thing.
Wait for it, wait for it. Okay, I'm going to talk about a couple things that I want to talk about. One is, during sessions, how many people are presenting sometime during the conference? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. You're presenting. You can't be shy. Okay. All right. There's a little message for you. If you're not speaking and you're on a panel, don't fiddle with your phone. It looks crappy in the pictures. It wrecks the picture. You're like, I'm doing my email. Don't do your email. Don't do text. You're here for an hour. You can put it away, okay? You're an adult. You can do this. I don't like cups. Like those paper cups or like a water bottle that's like a plastic water bottle. It looks terrible in the pictures. AI can take them out, but it's a pain. So don't bring a cup up if you're a presenter. Just don't bring it up or keep it on the floor. We're going to try to have, proper glasses. Glasses are okay. But your little coffee cup, not good. I'm not kidding about this. Let's see if I have another condescending thing to say. I do. I did. I thought of it. So, everything that is up on the screen, like right now, and anything that's said into a microphone is recorded. That means things that are not said into microphones are not recorded. So, if you have a question, make sure that you wait until the microphone comes to you, because on the recording, we want to hear your question. Another pet peeve about that. Identify yourself in the recording too. Say, I'm John Ciovacco with Aztech Geothermal. Something simple like that, but use your name and your affiliation. Okay? Because then when you listen to the recording, you have a kind of a sense about what's going on. Like I find myself, like I'm listening to them in the car after because I can't watch any of them during the show because I'm running around. And people ask a question and I have no idea who that person is. Like I have to do like voice ID. I don't like that. Okay. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Okay.
You say the word.
Is it one click away?
It's one click.
Oh my God. So some of you might remember that there was a sock thing last time. Anybody remember the sock thing? Who remembers the sock thing? Yeah, there was a sock thing. Well, there might be another sock thing.
Don't hit that button.
What?
This button.
Yeah, that's why you're here. Oh, there's a new sock thing. There's a NY-GEO sock now. A trend has turned into a physical thing. And maybe, just maybe, everybody gets a pair. Yeah, isn't that cool? So I'm going to show you the socks. This is like a gender reveal. It's a sock reveal. Can you move that water thing? All right. So the sock, no. So the sock, I know. Don't take pictures of this. So we've got the little red stripe going down there. We've got the blue stripe going down there. You like that? I mean, this is pretty, designed by Christine, approved by me. And then on the bottom, it says, what does it say? I can't read it from here. Energy beneath our feet, see? And everybody will have these on, I'd say tomorrow, or you could, remove your socks once you get your pair. And how are people getting these things? You're going to walk out the door and you're going to be handed a pair. Isn't that great? I mean, we're giving back. There you go. All right, so we're going to take a break now. We're going to pull the walls, and remember, design track over there, thermal energy networks here, and projects and equipment over there. Okay? See you soon. Everybody back in sessions at 10 o'clock.